So if you've ever had a desire to improve your triathlon performance, whether it's a personal best, making it to Kona, qualifying for a big event, I want to share my journey to get to Kona with all of you, because there's a lot of frustration in there, a lot of disappointment, a lot of points where I thought I was done with trying to achieve my goal. So let me just give you a little bit of background on myself. I've been fortunate to qualify for Kona for 5 consecutive years, and it's been a long journey. So I've been in the sport since my mid-20s, and I basically went from like middle of the pack, back of the pack, to middle, to up to the closer end of the front end of the middle of the pack, and that's when I thought maybe I can qualify for Kona one day. And I knew it was a far off dream, but I thought, yeah, that's going to be a goal. And I knew I was in this sport long term, and I thought, let's just go for it. And so I continued to put in the work. I continued to focus my training now on half Ironman and Ironman distance, and I got better. I improved, and I was getting closer, but I was still, not close. And at some point in my journey, I got to the point where I went to races thinking that I could get a spot. I could qualify. I could get, a top 5, top 4 finish, and this is within reach. And so for me, the race of choice, because it was local, fairly close and easy to drive to, was Ironman Arizona. And so every year I did that race, and every year I left that race just crushed and defeated. And it was a cycle every year. I did it for 4 years in a row. I improved my speed, I improved my time, but I didn't get any closer to qualifying. And I was discouraged, and I had a lot of ups and downs. And so the year I finally qualified, I decided to go into a race, choosing a race that was better suited for me. And so I chose a race that was hot and humid and just miserable conditions, because I do fairly well in those conditions. So the point being, I picked a different race, and I continued down the same path. Now there's a decisive moment that happened in my journey that is significant, and this is what I really want to share with you. For my training, I put in the work, and I invested the time in training, but I can truthfully say I wasn't 100% vested in my goals. I'm the athlete where I really need to be all in to get the best results for myself. And I was at a stage in my life where I thought, I need to be all in, but I wasn't. And my wife brought this to my attention on one Saturday morning. My alarm went off, and she said, and I hit snooze, and I told her, I'm gonna just go back to bed, I'll do my ride later. And then she tells me, hell no, get your ass out of bed and go train. At the time I thought, man, that's pretty harsh. But looking back, that's exactly what I needed. Because, and we had a conversation about this, I had kids at the time, I still have kids, but my kids were young, and the family was making a lot of sacrifices to allow me to get in my training. And I had a set time that I could train, that it was important for me to get in my training. And by sleeping in, number one, I would not be able to get my training in, but number two, it would affect my attitude, and it would affect my demeanor throughout the day, and I couldn't just let it go. And my wife saw that, and she also saw the disappointment that I had when I didn't qualify. And even though, to most people I was super consistent with my training, but my wife knew that there were days that I skipped, and I didn't put in the work that I needed to. And for me, in my situation, I was just looking for that little extra edge. And her saying that to me made me just shift things quite a bit. And she was right, because I had a certain amount of time to train, and I needed to be absolutely ruthless with that time. I needed to go after that all in. Not to say that I needed more time to train, but the time that I allotted, I needed to focus on that time that I gave myself to train. And if I wasn't giving 100% of my effort to put in the work during that time, then I was cheating myself. And that was a decisive moment, because from that point on, yeah, there are days where I needed to take off for recovery or I knew my body needed a rest. But if I had set aside time to train, I made sure that I continued with that training and I didn't take shortcuts. And for me, that was all of the difference. And from that point on, I was able to qualify for Kona 5 years in a row. Not because I'm this super talented athlete, but because I put in the work. And for me, I needed that little extra to give me that little extra on race day. And it was an effective strategy for me. And the reason I share this with you and why you could possibly benefit from this is, and this is what I tell my athletes, we don't need, in many cases, we don't need more time to train. We just need to be absolutely focused on the time that we do a lot for ourselves. And I had an athlete email me the other day and say, "Hey, coach, I'm ready for more. I want to do more." And this, we had to have a heart-to-heart conversation. And I said, "But if we look at the last month of your training, there's a lot of sessions that you're skipping. So you're asking for more, but you're not executing on the training that's assigned for you." So I said, be ruthless with that time. Just go after it. At the time that you have, make sure that you devote that time to your training. And we don't need to add on more volume. Just make sure the time you do have, you're putting that energy and effort into the training. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have recovery days, you shouldn't have days off. That's important, but if you set aside time, especially if you're a father, a husband, a wife, you have family, you owe it to them. This is my opinion, of course. I felt I owed it to my family to make sure I commit to my training and then be done with it, and then be a father, be a husband, be all of my roles. And that was key for me. So I owe it to my wife, who told me to get my ass out of bed, because that was the point where I realized, you know what, I have to be focused on my training, and the time that I have to devote my time to that and just go after it. So I feel that was a decisive factor for me, and it made a big impact and allowed me to qualify for the past 5 years. And if you are in a position where you are looking to achieve certain goals, my suggestion to you is just be focused on the time that you do have. Don't try to carve out more time, just be focused on the time that you do have. All right, hope it helps, and hope it helps to get you over that edge and that obstacle for this following season. So keep up the good work and have an awesome day.